call the September meeting of the Land, Water, and Forest Resources Committee to order. Yes, do we comply with the open meetings law?
Yep.
Okay, pledge of allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comments. Anybody has anything to say that's not on the agenda, now's the time. Okay. Next item is approval of the minutes from the August meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve this.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion carried. Land records, county surveyor.
I don't have a lot to report. Tax listing, because the real estate's been so busy, they were getting behind. So I pulled one of the GIS people to help in August, and we got the listing caught up. So now they're back doing what they normally do. Survey crew's been working in Cooteray and Edgewater in the winter. Real estate's just crazy busy between people buying things, and I mean, it's just nonstop phone ringing and fielding questions and stuff, which is good, I guess. I think it sounds like we're going to have a lot of new residents. So just the way everything's going.
Yeah,
good. Like last month, we had 26 new parcels created by certified survey map, which is actually quite a few. You know, if you start taking 26 a month, that's a lot of new. It's been kind of stagnant since 2008, kind of slow and steady, but now everything's just booming for now. About all I got.
your land records people are up to date.
They got caught up to date at the end of August, 1st of September.
Good. Any questions? All right, hearing none. Mr. County Forester, you're up.
Okay. Well, for recreational trails report, I think I'll defer to Mr. Morotek if you like.
Okay, yeah, that would be great.
All right, I'll just keep it short and sweet. Everything's been going very good. Last weekend was extremely busy with the traffic out there, but yeah, everything's been going good.
Okay, any questions? All right, we don't have anybody here for non-motorized trails. Okay, Greg, you want to give us your report?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to report. We've had a busy month though. August timber sales, we had 14 listed as active. We still seem to have a pretty fair amount of activity for wood products, in spite of the conditions we have economically here. Sale value on file right now is a little over 3.3 million. Revenue for August was 178,000. We did get a few camping permits in for the year, which is primarily for deer season. We seem to be on target right now, so our year-to-date gross timber sale revenue is just under 1.4 million, and we do have 324,000 billed out right now. So it seems like we're in fairly good shape considering what's going on. So we still seem to have a fair amount of activity going on. Sale inspections are on target for our activity level. We did have 8 new tracks turned in, the paperwork. Currently, right now, we're putting together our fall timber sale prospectus. That'll be going out probably the second week of October with a bid opening in the first week of November. So that'll really show us what's going on, but we're planning on putting out a pretty substantial sale, a lot of different products just to kind of see what's happening, give our contractors some opportunities to make up some ground here. So recon is on target. We're still plugging away on a good neighbor authority. We're mostly going to gear into that more this fall. Don't have anything else to report for other issues. ATV Snowmobile Trails, we did complete 2 rehab projects on the Tuscobia, the Schropp Road to Highway C, which is 3.3 miles. Schaefer Road to Hofer Road on the Tuscobia, also completed at 1.35 miles. And the 3rd project, the Price County line to Uncle Tom's Road, is probably almost complete right now, but they're still working on it as of last week. So also Berkey Trail and Mosquito Brook Bridge was repaired. That got damaged in the dam failure, but Berkey took that on and completed the repair on their own there. So other than that, I don't have a whole lot to report. It's just been a busy month trying to wrap stuff up with timber sale and projects and whatnot.
2 questions for you. The timber revenue build out, is that included in the gross timber sales or not?
No.
Okay. And then the second thing is, we've got your 15-year forester and rec plan. Where are we on that?
Yep. I kind of got cut short on the week here for the committee meeting, but we've got at least 3 more chapters that will come out for the committee. It'll be probably the middle of the month. I'll get these out for the committee to look at. So hopefully we can have approval for the drafts in the October meeting. The first 2 chapters are out for public review right now. We've got probably 2 more weeks for the 30 days on those first 2 chapters. But we're on schedule as much as we can. So we're going to have a big push for the next couple months with the rest of the chapters.
And we'll get it done in 2020 then?
Yep.
On time?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions for the forester? Okay. DNR, anybody from the DNR? No DNR report, all right. Building and conservation. Okay, you want to talk about the...
Yeah, so the first one up is the request letter of support for a decontamination ordinance. So we talked a few months back about a potential countywide decontamination ordinance, and this decontamination ordinance would be specifically to aquatic invasive species, and that would be to clean a vessel before entering a body of water, as well as when you're exiting a body of water. During some of the research in going down this route, and one of the questions that we always had is ultimately where's the enforcement aspect of this potential ordinance? Where would that rely on? Would it be in the zoning and conservation department, or should it be something in the sheriff's department as far as the recreational officer? We had a meeting yesterday with the sheriff's department, and they were, I guess, somewhat hesitant in wanting to assume that responsibility for that enforcement, and was trying to say that no, it should be really handled under the zoning and conservation. Is that be it that we have the aquatic invasive species coordinator under the conservation department. There are several other counties that do have a decontamination ordinance at a county-wide level, specifically Washburn County, Burnett County, and just recently now Bayfield County. Those 3 counties had a different ordinance already in place prior to making amendments for what ultimately is then called a decontamination ordinance. Those 3 counties had what was known as a no transport ordinance. Specifically, when it was actually Washburn County that first came in with a no transport ordinance. The state ended up then getting involved and then enacted what's known as NR 40. So NR 40 actually set some of those rules and standards for the inability to transport vegetation from your vessel before entering or exiting any bodies of water in the state of Wisconsin. With those 3 counties having that ordinance in place prior to NR 40 being adopted at a state level, it was very easy for those counties to make amendments to those ordinances and then ultimately formulate what they call a decontamination ordinance. Sawyer County would be a little bit unique in that we would have to, fully adopt some type of decontamination ordinance. The actual mindset of having a decontamination ordinance, I don't think anyone's not on board with that. It's a great idea to have it. If we're going to, be stewards of the land and protect our natural resources, this is a good investment to have. It's the aspect is how we carefully and tactfully go about adopting this type of new ordinance, in that we want to make sure that the enforcement is set and we're all in agreement as to where that enforcement lies. whether then that enforcement is legal per state statutes, and that whether it should be handled under the sheriff's department or under the conservation department. So those are some of the questions that I don't have answers to yet at this point. I do want to seek out legal counsel to make sure that something like this is enforceable and it is, legal. We had discussions, as a similar type of ordinance a few years back, known as the Wake Ordinance, where we got to about the 11th hour as an adoption process, and the corporation council came back at that time and says, no, you can't enforce this. It goes above and beyond the state realm. So that's where I'm somewhat hesitant that we jump on board with anything right now without having all of our ducks in a row before we even go down this road. I know there are a few members of the Whitefish Lake Association here in the room as well that are some of the advocates of wanting to pursue this decontamination ordinance. And again, there's no doubt in anyone's mind that this is a good thing to have. It's just how do we go about doing it? They've actually, the Whitefish Lake Association has actually sought out one of the DNR grant specialists, and there are some funding opportunities available to actually proceed with adopting and formulating an actual ordinance, as well as other grant money available for setting up these actual decontamination sites. The Lake Association is requesting a letter of support from the county to move forward with this. I would be hesitant to want to give that support yet until we know all the ins and outs, and then I can actually speak with our legal representation to make sure that this is something legal and enforceable under the conservation department. At that time, if legal counsel was to say that yes, this is enforceable, this can be adopted by the county, I guess I would be coming back to this committee in October to again ask for that letter of support. Again, that letter of support from the county is needed to go through the grant process. So you're not stating at that point that, yes, we're adopting this ordinance. It's just you're in support of looking into the adoption process. So.
And Whitefish would apply for the grant? Okay, you're qualified under the DNR rules.
We are. We're qualified 501c3.
Okay.
And there's been other, conversations with Whitefish Lake Association that they've already adopted a decontamination ordinance at a town level. So the town of Sand Lake already now has a decontamination ordinance on board at a town level, which is a great start. But again, if you only have it at, the 3 major lakes or 4 major lakes that are in the town of Sand Lake, that doesn't really help someone going from one lake and crossing town lines and going into another. So they have been in contact with other lake associations as well as the Sawyer County Lakes Forum to make this push for a county-wide decontamination ordinance.
Okay. This question maybe Mr. Hawk is determining where the enforcement lies. A policy issue or is that an administrative issue?
Well, I think Jay is correct in working together with law enforcement. We had the same issue and had a similar discussion last evening in Health and Human Services with the new public health ordinance. Right. Does that get enforced through public health or through law enforcement? And I think, it can be both, and it's just a coordination of efforts of, who's going to do what. And I think law enforcement would be behind, that effort, but, the initial effort may need to come from conservation, but, we'll see that.
Right, and that was somewhat of the nature of the conversation that I had yesterday with Sheriff Motek, as well as the recreational officer, and that, obviously we're all on the same team. We'd be willing to work together, but ultimately, if this was something that was sent out as a citation, where does that money go from the citation, and who's writing the official citation? Is it something from the zoning conservation administrator writing the citation, or is it from the recreational officer? Now, if that's a policy decision, I guess I would leave that up to this committee then to ultimately decide. If it's not a policy decision, then it's something that legal counsel says that no, actually, the sheriff has to enforce this, or no, the conservation administrator has to enforce this. I guess I would take legal counsel's word for it at that point.
All right.
So I guess that's what I'm looking at doing is maybe postponing any type of decision here, or giving me time to go to legal counsel and see what route we end up going with this as far as where that enforcement lies, and to make sure that if we do go through a decontamination ordinance adoption, make sure that it is something legal and enforceable under the conservation program.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
Jay, I'm not against this, but
I can't see how it can be enforced. I mean, they're gonna have to sit right there.
Right, so there are several, we call them clean boats, clean waters monitors that actually monitor some of these boat launches. They would ultimately be tasked with more of an educational process to begin with, to say, this is the importance of, decontaminating your vessel prior to, pulling it onto one of the bodies of water. There's actually going to be sites set up that'll have pressure washers and sprayers. There's going to be a very diluted bleach solution that would kill any of those AIS travelers with them. And again, more of an educational aspect for the first, few years and get the word out. But if there are, repeat offenders that are adamantly opposed to decontaminating the vessel, ultimately, there's probably going to need some teeth that are needed per an ordinance to have that enforceability. Because if you don't have teeth behind anything, what's the point of doing it? Just to be a good steward of the land, yes, but you're going to have those individuals at 3%, 2% of the population that just doesn't want to clean their boat off. So that's again where the ordinance comes into play, is that you do have some teeth behind it.
I was just gonna say I'm for the ordinance. It's just, I'm wondering how it's gonna be.
Right, and if we ever got, and we did talk with the other counties that have this, the 3 other counties that are adjacent that have this type of decontamination ordinance, they've never gone to court on any of these aspects. I do believe Washburn County has issued one citation, which the individual then did pay, and they settled out of court. So $150 or $200, ticket for not decontaminating on a second offense. And really, for those to sit out there and monitor it, no, that's where we put it on the Clean Boats, Clean Waters crew to make a report form and then give to us, where we can then make a call to the individual and say, hey, we've gotten word that you refuse to clean your vessel. Is there a reason why? Can we help educate you more? Or something along those lines. If the offender continues to repeat, ultimately the citation is the only teeth that we would have for sure.
Are those monitors volunteer?
They do get a little bit of pay, but most of them are volunteer.
Combination of volunteer and paid.
Okay. Does that take care of your decontamination ordinance?
Yeah, and I guess if you wanted to make action, because it is listed as an action, to postpone further action until next month's meeting.
Okay. Yes. Make a motion to postpone the next meeting. All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Just
Opposed, nay? Just a second, please. Okay. Motion carried, yes.
Just for
Will you
your
state your name,
information, Sherry Yale, and I'm with the Lakefish Lake Association. We have a deadline of November 1st for our grant, and that's why we are here now. That's why I was here in the spring, and that's why we're finding this to be a little, under pressure to get our grant,
Right.
so that type of thing can get paid for.
Sure.
We're not asking the county to do it, as Washburn actually paid for all of the lakes to get done. That's kind of where we're at, so that's
Okay.
a little bit more of a.
Right. Okay, so if we act on it in October, does this have to go to the board, this letter of support, or can we just act on it?
I would think you could act on it. You're not committing any funds or anything at this point, so it's.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, would you state your name, please?
Jane Getting. I'm also with Lakefish Lake Property Owners Association. And I just wanted to make you aware that there are other lake associations in Sawyer County who are also making their own decontamination stations and are very supportive and would be much appreciate the county's support as well for enforcement.
So if we act on it in mid-October, that'll meet your deadline.
It will.
You probably will have the grant written and ready to go by then.
Grant's already written.
All right.
We're just waiting to send it in with all our I's dotted and T's crossed.
Okay, good. All right, any more questions, comments on decontamination?
I guess I have one question as far as how this committee would want, if we were to figure everything out for next month's meeting, by talking with legal counsel, make sure this is enforceable. How do you want a letter of support request proposed to you?
Well, I would think the draft was a letter of support.
Okay.
And we would approve that letter.
Okay.
I think that's what we've done before.
Okay.
Okay, works for me. All right.
County report for zoning departments. Again, soil tests and sanitary permits we're still up on, which is usually a good thing because those are the two things needed prior to applying and being granted the land use permit. So the more soil tests, the more sanitary permits we see, that usually goes hand in hand with more building permits. Land use permits from this year as opposed to last year are down a little bit, but we are getting several new houses this year as opposed to just smaller additions. Reiterating what Mr. Ploger had said before, yeah, it's been a crazy building season. We've talked to several builders and several contractors. They're booked up till, at least fall 2021, if not spring of 22, which is crazy to think that you're not going to be able to get a builder to build your house for a year and a half.
Right.
Which there certainly is a trend. There's a lot more people that are now moving here full time as opposed to seasonal.
Okay. Yeah, if they have good internet, then you'll move.
Yeah, that's the key.
Okay. Any questions for Jay on his permits? Okay, USDA report, I don't see anybody. Do you have anything writing for the USDA?
I do not.
Okay, LCO report? No LCO. All right, anything else you guys want to bring up for the good of the cause here? If not, we're adjourned. Yeah. Thank you for coming.